It's your DM, you just gotta hate him funk. I quit your BM, this is the Sadie's funk. If I quit this season, I'll be still the greatest funk. My left stroke just went viral. That little you can with me if you wanted to. These expensive red bottom, these dirty shoes. Hit the store, I can get them, but I don't wanna choose. And I'm quick, cut a person off, I'm uncomfortable. This is America, don't get you slipping up. Don't get you slipping up. Look what I'm living up. This is America, don't get you slipping up. Don't get you slipping up. Look what I'm living up. This may be the night that my dreams won't let me know. All the stars approach you. All the stars approach you. All the stars approach. This might not be the night that will let me know. All the stars are closer. All the stars are closer. All the stars are. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Umbrella, she's up, whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, we as a community really have to get back into the mindset of controlling our own school systems. We need to be in control of the curriculum that our children are learning. We send children to schools to be taught by mostly white women, with the curriculum demanded by the government. And if a teacher even thinks about getting off the course of indoctrination, they will be disciplined immediately. The difference between us and our ancestors before the civil rights movement, they already knew where they stood. There was no illusion of inclusion. They built their own schools because they had no other choice. Black kids weren't allowed anywhere near a white school. In America, it has been illegal for us to read longer than it's been legal for us to go to public schools. But even during the Jim Crow era, they recognized the importance of educating themselves and educating their children enough to build their own schools. And today, it's not like schools aren't still segregated. Our children go to rundown schools where they learn how to assimilate and be good workers in a system designed to hurt them and eventually get them into voluntary servitude. Meanwhile, in their schools, they teach their own children about business, about how to handle money, about how to survive in the real world. And not only survive, but be successful. But what they don't tell you is how many of these prestigious colleges was built by slaves and offer slave money. Places like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Columbia, William and Mary, the University of Virginia. All of these colleges have some kind of ties with slavery, and most of them was funded by the transatlantic slave trade. And today, you can still find a bunch of racism at these places, but they protect the institutes that they build. And until we learn how to protect the institutes that we do build, the same thing is going to continue to happen. If it comes down to it, they have no problem deputizing people. Anytime they feel like niggas getting out of their place, they have no problem deputizing random white citizens to help get us back in line. And the standard to be a cop is so low, almost anybody can apply and become a cop. But then there are some people that wanted to be cops that couldn't even pass those standards. So then they become security guards and they act like cops. And they think they can do whatever cops can do. And when it comes to killing an unarmed black man, in many cases, they do get the same privilege as cops. In North Carolina, a young brother, Deandre Ballard, who was a college student going to a HBCU when he was shot to death by a security guard in a student apartment complex. So let's see how this unarmed brother ended up getting shot and killed by a security guard in his own apartment complex.
Family and friends said goodbye to Deandre Ballard today. He was killed by a security guard last week.
As CBS 17's Derek Lewis reports, his funeral is not the end of this family's fight for justice.
And speak those things that will bring life.
Prayer, songs, and praises filled Without Limits Christian Center in New Bern Friday to celebrate Deandre Ballard's life.
Trying not to really take it as hard as it is, but he was a good young man, great young man.
Ballard's great uncle, Leon Beckton, along with other family and friends, has questions about Ballard's death. The 23-year-old died September 18th, hours after he was shot at Campus Crossings Apartments.
It's still kind of unbelievable. It's hard to accept the way it happened. And as of yet, we still don't know the exact way it happened.
Guards with NC Detective Agency patrol Campus Crossings apartment complex. The agency tells me one of its guards shot Ballard in self-defense, but Durham police haven't released any information about the investigation.
I feel like Durham Police Department has not done all that they could have done. How does a child become lost in a morgue at the hospital and lost for days, and no one knows where he is?
It took police 3 days to identify Ballard after he was shot. Police say Ballard did not have any identification with him. During service, Ballard's family showed off his outgoing personality. Family tells me he was an honor student with big dreams ahead.
That hurt me more than anything, that he's no longer here to follow what he wanted to do.
Relatives say the big crowd coming together for Ballard is for 3 reasons.
Love, family, support.
As the family celebrates Ballard, no charges have been filed in the shooting. NC Detective Agency says the guard who shot Ballard is back at work.
The security guard who shot Deandre Ballard says he feared for his life and had to defend himself. CBS 17's Derek Lewis is digging deeper into this case. Derek.
Deandre Ballard was a student here at NCCU. Today, I talked on the phone with his mother, Ornisha Ballard, for about 15 minutes. She tells me she does not know why a security guard would shoot her son, but she wants answers.
My son was a lovable person. He was a nice person. He was a genuine person. I don't think that, he would just attack somebody just because.
Deandre Ballard was shot and killed at Campus Crossing Apartments. Durham police say the shooting happened September 17th. Ornisha Ballard, his mother, says police told her Ballard walked out of his apartment, leaving his keys, phone, and ID behind, and tried breaking into cars. She tells me police say a security guard at the complex shot Deandre Ballard after getting into the guard's car.
My son, would speak to the security guards and stuff like that. So why would my son want to attack a security guard?
The security company the guard works for, NC Detective Agency, says the shooting is justified 100% and the officer acted in self-defense. The company's management declined to go into any other details, but does say the public will know much more about what happened when the investigation is complete. Ornisha Ballard is having a hard time believing that.
How is it self-defense when my son was unarmed? My son he's not even a big person. So why would you feel that your life was in danger because, you thought that my son was going to do something to you? It's not 100% justifiable. I don't buy it.
Ballard says police told her son was shot in the arm and the bullet went through to his stomach. She says a gun should have never been pulled out.
I feel like this is something that they just want to, just sweep under the rug and say, okay, Deandre did this to the officer and he had all the right to kill him. No, he did not have a right to kill my son.
Ornisha found out her son was dead 3 days after the shooting. She says his roommates called her to let her know that he was missing, but she didn't find out what happened until she showed up here at the university.
Now, according to the security guard, he was making his rounds at the complex when he stopped at the security booth so another guard could go to the bathroom. He said he noticed this young brother, Deandre Ballard, trying to break into cars, and so the security guard said he started shouting at him. So then the security guard said this brother, Deandre Ballard, went up and got in his car that he left running while he was waiting in the security booth. But he said this brother ran and jumped in the passenger side. Now, the security guard's story is confusing because he went from being in the security booth in one version of the story to being in the car in another version. He said this brother, Deandre, got in his car and started fighting him. Then the guard said he got out of the car, came around to his side, and then started reaching for his gun. The guard said he came over and immediately put his hands on him, so he feared for his life and had no other choice but to open fire. Now, the second security guard, who was already doing his caping, said he heard the altercation, but by the time he got back, this young brother was already shot. When they called 911, the second security guard said this brother, Deandre Ballard, was reaching for a gun. And the first security guard said he jumped into his car trying to fight him, and that's why he shot him. Now, Deandre Ballard, this college student who is a month away from graduating, he doesn't have a record, he's never been in trouble, and before there could even be an investigation, the security company who hasn't released their names started caping right away. saying this shooting was 100% justified.
We're working to learn more information about the shooting death of an NCCU student.
He was killed by a security guard at an off-campus apartment. Well, many people wanted to know if the guard could legally carry a gun, and CBS 17's Derek Lewis went to work to get that answer. He joins us live from Durham tonight. Derek, what did you learn?
Yeah, Maggie, the answer is yes. But while talking to lawmakers and the state's Department of Public Safety today, they tell me there is more to it when it comes to security guards legally carrying guns. The NC Detective Agency, a security company in Durham, says one of its guards is responsible for shooting and killing NCCU student Deandre Ballard. They go on to say the shooting is 100% justified. I've learned security guards can legally have guns through a two-step process through the Private Protective Services, an organization that operates under the state's Department of Public Safety. Brian Jones is the director.
The board issues licenses to security guard and patrol companies, and the individuals that represent those companies actually receive the license, and then the individual employees that work for the license holder are considered registrants. So armed and unarmed security guards are registered through the board.
The organization keeps records of licenses they issue. Jones tells me NC Detective Agency has been a licensed security guard company since 1981 and has 22 registered armed guards.
I think the most important thing is whether the firm that was providing security services had the authority to have guards with firearms, and they were properly licensed and properly trained.
NC Detective Agency is properly licensed and trained. I've learned armed guards must have 36 hours of training and pass a criminal history check. Senator Floyd McKissick Jr. says whether armed guards should be at a student housing apartment complex is up to management.
If you have an apartment complex that's had some problems where they thought perhaps they needed people there to provide security with firearms, that's a situation where it might be needed.
Now, I stopped by the security company today trying to get more information about the guard who they say shot and killed Ballard, but company management declined an interview.
A North Carolina Central student shot and killed at an off-campus apartment complex by a security guard.
And tonight we're hearing from the company where that guard works, and we're learning more about the student who classmates say made a big impact on campus. CBS 17's Michael Hyland has the new details on the investigation from Durham.
We can't believe it.
Based on what people at NC Central knew about Deandre Ballard, that's what they all told us. They just can't believe it.
Another young man with a bright future and had turned the corner, was ready to go. Now he's gone.
Ballard was 23 and from New Bern. He hoped to graduate from here next fall and become a PE teacher. This website he made is part of a school project. His professors remember him as cheerful and fun-loving.
And he wanted to do what he could for children. His main thing was to work with kids.
Olivia Harris recently had a class with him.
Very, helpful. I didn't really understand certain things, so he was always, willing to come.
That's why the news of his death shocked everyone who knew him. Durham police say he got shot at this apartment complex near Central last Monday. Kevin Ladd is vice president at the NC Detective Agency. He says a security guard who works for his company is the one who shot Ballard. Is there any reason he should face charges for doing this?
The facts that we know, no. None.
Ladd wouldn't give details on what happened in the moments before the shooting.
It's a tragedy. He should have never gotten that far, but our officer, he legitimately feared for his life and he had to protect himself.
It's not clear why. Ladd didn't identify the security guard, but said he's worked for the company for 15 years and had training as well as a state certification. The university held a vigil for Ballard over the weekend. Durham police have not filed any charges in this case.
Now, although Kevin Ladd, the owner of the security company, refused to release anybody's name, he made sure to make it clear this security guard was another black man. Now, they will allow a black person to racially profile another black person, and in some cases even let black cops or black security guards get away with killing an unarmed black person. You're not going to see too many black cops racially profiling and killing white people. Because if a black cop or security guard kills an unarmed white person, they're going to jail or at least be charged. Now, after they shot and killed this young brother, Deandre Ballard, it took them 3 days to identify him. They said because he didn't have any identification. It wasn't until people noticed he was missing and called his family, and his family filed a missing persons report, did his family even find out he was killed. And of course, nobody's been charged. even though the security company itself has a history of problems and violations.
Trying not to really take it as hard as it is, but he was a good young man, great young man.
How does a child become lost in a morgue at the hospital and lost for days and no one knows where he is?
Family and friends remembering Deandre Ballard today in New Bern. The 23-year-old student was set to graduate in May from NCCU. His family says he had an outgoing personality. He was an honor student and he had big dreams. But the young man was shot and killed by a security guard at the Campus Crossing Apartments where he lived. Family and friends want answers about Deandre Ballard's death. Durham police still haven't released any specific information on its investigation.
CBS 17's Derek Lewis is digging deeper to find out more about the security guard involved and the agency he works for.
Through the pouring rain, Brian Best sits outside alone with his sign protesting the company across the street, NC Detective Agency.
What they're telling us right now is quite clearly not the truth, and we need to get to the bottom of this.
Best had known Deandre Ballard since high school. Ballard, an NCCU student, died after being shot at Campus Crossing's apartment complex. Durham police have yet to release details about their investigation, but NC Detective Agency says one of its guards shot Ballard out of self-defense. Best does not believe it.
We're not going to be able to bring him back, but we can at least make sure that whoever's responsible faces consequences.
The state's Private Protective Services is an organization that issues licenses and registrations to companies and guards. I went through their public records online and found the state has given NC Detective Agency 3 violations since 2010. The first came on August 18, 2010. State records show an employee with the company provided false information regarding unarmed guard training certificates, allowing armed guards to carry a firearm during the course of performing their duties without first having met the qualifications of the board. The state made everyone get retrained. Documents show the second violation happened on October 26, 2011. An employee made a false statement on an application for a license, registration, or permit, or for renewal of a license, registration, or permit. And the third violation came on December 12, 2012, when an employee for the company failed to properly register armed guards. 2 additional issues as part of this third violation led to a fine of more than $2,600. The state tells me it's waiting for Durham police to complete its investigation into Ballard's shooting before deciding on any potential action against the company.
In the event that we determined that there was a violation of that statute, then the board may take action, and we would present the findings of any investigation to the board for their consideration.
For now, Best, along with other friends and family, continues to wait for more details about Deandre Ballard's death.
I don't know what the truth is, but I do know right now we don't have it.
Best tells me he's talked to Ballard's family. He is working with them and other people in the community to plan more protests in the city.
Now, this security company had 3 violations in the last few years. Kevin Ladd, the owner who was caping for the security guard, he got in trouble himself for lying about security guards being qualified to be armed. He didn't meet the proper qualifications to have armed security guards, and other problems with them being licensed to carry. Now, they did get in trouble and they were reprimanded when no one died. But now this young brother is dead. They're careful not to place blame or say anybody did anything wrong. They don't want to do anything that can actually get the security guard in trouble for what he did. But it's important to get control of our kids' mentality so we don't racially profile each other and look at each other sideways. Most of that comes from the programming that has been instilled in us. On top of the environments, the system the American government created and put us in. It's important to have our own schools and our own colleges, not only to protect our children, but to actually educate our children, to teach them how to actually survive in the world, teach them about finance, teach them about their history, and teach them how to build their own system, and most importantly, protect what they build. We have to learn how to put our tribal differences aside for the next generation. We can't let our personal beliefs keep us from building what we have to build to get out of the situation. At the end of the day, it won't stop until we stop it. And until we realize we're all we got, then we're going to continue to be in the same situation.
Send an ambulance to Campus Crossing, 1400 East Cornwallis. I'm a security officer. I just shot a black male. He jumped in my car.
You are listening to a portion of the 911 call made moments after a shooting that killed an NC Central University student last month. The person who called appears to be the security guard who shot Deandre Ballard. He describes what happened in the moments leading up to the shooting at Campus Cross Apartments.
I see this guy, I'm in my car. I see this guy trying to get inside somebody else's car. I said, hey man, what's going on? He jumped inside my car. He started trying to attack and try to fight me or whatever, and try to reach for my gun. And so that's why I think I had shot him.
CBS 17 obtained those 911 calls about an hour ago, long after a group of NC Central students rallied for answers today from police, the city, anyone who could shed some light on what led up to Ballard's death. Now, for the first time since this story broke, Durham's mayor is weighing in on the shooting. CBS 17's Derek Lewis reports.
Protesters stand outside NC Detective Agency calling for justice.
Justice hasn't been served because nobody's been arrested.
Alvarez Rogers organized a rally in support of 23-year-old Deandre Ballard. Ballard, an NCCU student, died after he was shot on September 17th at Campus Crossings Apartments.
Deandre, he was a good man. He was very humble. You know, he was on his way to great things, and they just took his life for no reason.
NC Detective Agency tells me one of its guards shot Ballard. The agency says it was justified. I'm told the guard is back at work.
My heart goes out to the family.
Today, for the first time since the shooting, Durham's mayor, Steve Schewel, spoke with me about what happened. Schewel says he's talked to the city manager, who is in constant contact with the police chief about Ballard's investigation.
It's terrible. And I mean, I can deeply understand the frustration of the family and friends. They want to know as soon as they can. And I really can understand their frustration, but I really have also a lot of confidence in Chief Davis that they're going to do a very thorough investigation.
Schewel says these investigations take time.
And they're going to be able to really do a good job of presenting the facts to the district attorney so he can make a decision about, you know, whether or not to have an indictment.
In the meantime, protesters want Campus Crossings Apartments, which houses many NCCU students, to end its contract with NC Detective Agency. They want the name of the guard, any related video released, and someone arrested. Rogers says although investigations take time, he will continue to fight.
We're not going to let the public forget about what happened because we, the people, we are in control of society. Not the government, not the police department, none of that. They work for all of us.
In Durham, I'm Derek Lewis, CBS 17 News.
Now, the security guard works for NC Detective Agency, and some of its employees watched the protest but declined to comment. CBS 17 learned the company is properly licensed and trained under state law. That means all armed guards are required to undergo 36 hours of training and pass a criminal background check.
Yo, it's illegal for him to take your bag. It don't matter what's in that bag. He can't take it. All right? Understand that. He could take it. He could do whatever he want, and then just make sure you get his badge number and report it. My grandmother worked for the police department. I know you can't take his bag. You can't take his bag, man. You shouldn't have never picked their bag up.
You telling me go somewhere else to get my bag back?
Okay, so go somewhere else.
Give me my bag. What? I'm not going nowhere.
They ain't even hurting nobody, man. Your corner. Yeah. What make it your corner? You live around here?
The badge makes it my corner.
Do you live around here? That badge don't make it your corner. The badge makes you a peace officer. If anything, it's my corner. I pay taxes. The badge makes you a peace officer. It's my corner. You work for their parents. You understand? Come on, man. Don't do that. Them guys could be doing bad shit, man. You could be doing something else. You know they ain't the ones. They not the ones. That's how you could do when you don't live.
Shamik Pugh was serving 5 years for burglary. Halfway through his sentence, he and 3 others were brutally stabbed inside Ohio's Lucasville prison.
I went out to recreation, ankle shackles and handcuffed to a table that you supposed to feel safe going out there to them tables. Remind you, we playing spades.
As the men played cards, another prisoner at the table behind them got up and attacked the men. Shackled, they were unable to run.
I was like, wow, this can't be happening. I got up and the other inmates got up, but we trying to get out our cuffs. We trying to get out.
The stabbing, captured in security video obtained exclusively by the Associated Press, raises questions about how such an attack could have happened inside one of Ohio's most secure prisons. The alleged attacker, Greg Rinke, was involved in a second attack months later, nearly killing a prison guard.
Our heart goes out to the victims in this case.
Newly elected prosecutor Shaun King charged Rinke in both attacks after authorities initially declined to prosecute him. They argued Rinke was already serving life.
Yes, Mr. Rinke's in prison for life, but these inmates, these gentlemen that were there, regardless of whatever reason they were in prison, they have a right to be protected.
Pugh believes guards set the group up that day, something prison authorities, the guards union, and Tiemann strongly deny.
I have no basis to believe this was a setup.
They didn't want me to come home, and they didn't want me to shine light onto that institution.
Johnny Perez, a prison reform advocate who spent 13 years behind bars, also questions the events that led to the stabbing.
What's taking them so long to get there? If they are in general population, it would be great to know if this is routine.
He believes a security breach is likely to blame.
You know, my gut instinct or my hunch that the correctional officer failed to do their job that day, and as a result, you know, this incident could have been completely preventable.
In 1993, 9 inmates and a prison guard were killed at Lucasville during an 11-day disturbance, one of the longest prison riots in U.S. history. A prison inspection report published in 2016 found that Lucasville has historically had a high number of assaults because of its large gang-affiliated population. In reaction to the stabbing, the prison stopped the practice of shackling multiple inmates to a table.
Shocking case coming to light. 3 KKK members who are current and former Florida corrections employees are now arrested for allegedly plotting to kill an inmate. ABC Action News reporter Ryan Raish joining us live now with the details he just got from the State Attorney General's office. Ryan?
Yeah, we just wrapped up a press conference with Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is fired up about these arrests. She says 3 now former Department of Correction workers and allegedly members of the KKK concocted a plan to kill a now former inmate, but that plan backfired big time. Take a look. We just got the mugshots for these 3 guys: Thomas Driver, David Moran, and Charles Newcomb. They all worked for a facility in Lake Butler, Florida. Investigators say they hatched a plan to inject insulin into a now former inmate, attach a fishing pole into his hand, and make it look like he drowned. But get this, police caught on, foiled the plan, and instead faked a murder scene with the inmate, making it look like he got shot 3 times.
Those photos were then shown to the corrections officers, who are alleged members of the KKK, and we're very proud of this killing.
The investigators say the 3 prison workers wanted the inmate dead, all because it's in retaliation of a fight that occurred with the inmate and one of those workers. Those 3 workers are now charged with conspiracy to commit murder. This appears to be yet another example of corruption within the Florida state prison system, and right now legislators are working on some better oversight to fix that system. We'll have much more on that coming up at 11. Also, I'm reading through this criminal affidavit that we just got our hands on. There's some conversation between the workers and that informant, some wild stuff in here.
These pictures obtained by the local paper, the Tallahassee Democrat, show Michael Ertel at a private Halloween party in 2005, posing as a Hurricane Katrina victim. At the time, Ertel was a county supervisor of elections. Just weeks ago, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had appointed him Secretary of State.
It's unfortunate. I think he's done a lot of good work, but at the same time, I've got to have an administration that's going to be focused on what matters to Floridians, and I don't want to get mired into kind of side controversies.
According to the paper, the photos were taken just 2 months after Hurricane Katrina ravaged the Gulf Coast. Ertel is seen in blackface, wearing red lipstick, earrings, and a New Orleans Saints bandana. There's nothing I can say, he told the paper when asked about the photos. Today, the paper says it shared them with the governor's office. Ertel abruptly resigned hours later, just a short time after testifying before lawmakers about election lawsuits. NBC News could not reach him for comment.
He had arranged for media visits to New Orleans after the disaster, so for him to come along and do this was really shocking, especially in the aftermath of the storm.
Ertel, an Army veteran, was in charge of restoring voting rights to more than 1 million ex-felons, which voters approved in November. Tonight, he's out of a job.
Governor Ralph Northam is apologizing after a photo surfaced from a 1984 EVMS yearbook. It shows a person in blackface and another dressed in a Ku Klux Klan robe.
The picture is on the same page as photos of Ralph Northam. Hours after the picture was first reported, the governor issued a statement followed by this video message.
I'm deeply sorry.
I cannot change the decisions I made, nor can I undo the harm my behavior caused then and today.
Now, it is not clear which person in the photo is Northam, and he did not clarify that in his statement. One thing is clear. Some Republicans think Northam should resign.
And they're not alone. 10 on your side's Brett Hall joins us now. And Brett, you've been talking to folks tonight. Is the governor's apology enough?
Well, this is a very rapid development because it seems that nobody knew about this decision made 35 years ago and that lived in this library for 35 years until today. And now it looks like it could very well be the end of Governor Northam's political career. One of them was him. One of the men dressed up in either blackface or a Ku Klux Klan outfit was the man who would become the 73rd governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam. He made the admission himself today in his statement, hours after a conservative website first found the photo in Northam's section in the 1984 Eastern Virginia Medical School yearbook.
That photo and the racist and offensive attitudes it represents does not reflect that person I am today or the way that I have conducted myself as a soldier, a doctor, and a public servant. I am deeply sorry.
However, another photo has since surfaced from Northam's time at VMI. This time, it's not the picture itself, but his nickname that has people outraged. It says he was called Coonman.
Yes, that he would need to resign.
Some people say, well, things from your past should be forgiven. This is the governor, and in the current political climate, this is a distraction. Some other people are sticking with him.
He's doing his job. I don't hear anyone complaining about him doing his job well, so I think he focused on the relevant things.
The governor says he intends to fill out his term, but tonight, the pressure is mounting. And that pressure coming from the federal level now as well. Congresswoman Elaine Loria releasing a statement that this isn't political, but he needs to resign. But both Senators Mark Warner and Senators Tim Kaine go short of saying they want him to resign, but saying he has a lot of work to do to gain back the trust of Virginians.
I have a dream today that one day little black boys and black girls.
This is Shaun King, a second grader at Meridian Ranch Elementary.
I liked it. I was sorting for it.
He's all dressed up for a class presentation.
I worked very hard. I did try my best. I have a dream today. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation.
Shaun is portraying a historical figure assigned by his teacher.
Well, Martin Luther King Jr.
He said, Mom, I want to wear a suit because that's what he wore, and a black tie, and I have to wear a white shirt. And he said, also I want to do my face in black.
I want to be like it because I thought it was a fun project to do.
His black face paint landed him and his parents in the principal's office.
They thought it was inappropriate and it would be disrespectful to black people. But I say that it's not. I like black people. I don't want to be mean to them. It's just a costume. I don't want to insult anybody.
The school district says a staff member and some students were offended by the face paint.
When other students are offended by something, it's really the principal's role to make sure that the educational environment is safe for all the students.
But students were never mentioned in the complaint, according to Shaun's parents. They were told it was a female staff member who was offended. Other parents, including a PTA member, said there was no problem with Shaun's face paint.
It's not about them. This was about a second grade class and their project. It had nothing to do with the woman that was taking it the wrong way. And I think she needs to realize the bigger picture. If my own son had been chosen to be Martin Luther King, he's a blonde, I would have gotten him a black wig and I probably would have painted his face too.
I don't think there's another way.
Despite an outcry of support, Shaun was still asked to wash his face, but his parents refused and pulled him out of school.
I think it's pretty sad that you've got a principal, you've got faculty members that are acting the way they are when they should be the ones setting the example for the children.
I learned something when I went into that office. Don't be afraid. Have a strong voice.
He's proud. He's proud of what he did, and I'm proud of what he did too.